From 17 once again. This is Darkmoon Enforcer 2. Which sounds like a Clint Eastwood film. It's more Dark Souls Invasions. This is with my Darkmoon character. You've previously seen him using Darkmoon Blade and just running in there and just destroying folks, but I got bored of that pretty quick because I tend to get bored of buffs. They're too powerful, they are. And I hope they work differently in the next game because they're very prevalent and they make the fights so much quicker than what I personally enjoy. So I swapped out my equipment for an obsidian sword because I wanted to try and push people off the edge and gain some interesting situations. And because I like to have a fast weapon on me as well as a heavy weapon, I swapped out the washing pole for an occult katana, which a lot of people ask me why I use the occult katana. It scales well with my faith, which is the only stat on this character that's worth scaling with. And nobody uses occult weapons, so it's one of those things where I quite enjoy having a weapon that you don't see that much, even though it is a katana, which you see more than probably any other weapon in the game. But this right here is 3 corpers just before the Artorias boss fog, and this is the moment where I play the choice, which, if you're new to the channel, it means I stand here to see whether or not the host and the phantoms are greedy, or if they're actually wanting to co-op. So it's one of those interesting moments where I like to defend the perspective that just because you're invading doesn't mean you have to be an asshole. And not a lot of people understand that. In fact, a lot of the comments I get on these videos, people saying that an invasion should be exactly that. It should be you going into the world and killing the person and not caring about any consequences, which is perfectly fine if that's what you want to do. That's just not what I want to do. And sometimes I play like that, sometimes I don't. And that was one of the moments where I didn't. Because if you're in human form and you're trying to summon help, and you're doing it because you want to fight a boss, I will let you fight that boss if you have no interest in killing me. But the moment you come to me, 3 deep, is when the rules go out the window, and that is when you should expect backstabs, that is when you should expect complete and utter no mercy. And that is my notion of Dark Souls Invasions, which I don't expect many people to share, because not many do. Wow, dark bead to the face off the Phantom. But he's not got a lot of life, and he gets a quick backstab in there, and I'm getting backed up by a bunch of serfs, a bunch of stone giants, and I'm using Wrath of God to try and kill this skinny elf motherfucker. I don't understand what happened then. I think he was attacking mid-swing, and he decided to lock on, so that it pivoted him towards the golem or something. The only other thing I can think of is he was expecting me to do a roll backstab, and he was trying to counter it with his swing. Which is weird, because I don't think he was. Maybe his thumb slipped, maybe the analog went crazy. And then I do a shrug, because it's my Godzilla scream, the good old shrug. But back in it, once again, more Darkmoon invasions, which a lot of people ask me where the best place to Darkmoon is. There really isn't any best place, I find. Darkmooning is hit and miss at the best of times. Sometimes you get lucky, sometimes you don't. This is a guy using a tower shield, and he's got a painted guardian sword. And if somebody's going to two-hand a painted guardian sword, they're going to try and mash you. So there are a couple of things you can try and do. The first one is you can poise. You can poise the first hit and parry the second, which, if you don't know how to do that, the second the weapon hits you, if you press parry, if he does a second attack, you will parry it. It's because of the latency, it's just how it works. It can take a lot of confidence to do, because you have to take a hit, and if you miss the parry, you're going to take more hits, so you have to be prepared to toggle out, or something along those lines. This guy is very defensive with his shield, which generally tells me he's either new, or he's got a defensive build, and he heals, which is down to interpretation whether or not you think that's a good or a bad thing. So I punish him with a backstab, I hit him with a wake up Wrath of God, I go for the backstab after the Wrath, which didn't work. I'm going to do some running attacks and then finish him with Wrath. And a lot of people don't like Wrath of God, and I understand exactly why they don't like it. When they see me using it, you know, they throw out words like spam, Wrath spam, you know, bad player, all that kind of stuff, which is perfectly fine, because at the end of the day, Wrath of God has a very healthy connotation with it, which is it's very lethal, it takes no skill to use, and a lot of people use it. But I don't really let those people bother me. I don't really let anything on Dark Souls anymore bother me, because I've got to the point where I'm comfortable with the way I play, and if you don't like it, it's your prerogative to leave. So this is a guy using a Falchion, and he's using it creatively, which tells you he's a good player. And he is doing some serious damage with it, because the poise crushing capability of the Falchion is really good when you two-hand it. I think 2 hits and it goes through most armors. And it's fast, it's a deadly weapon. It's really interesting. And because this guy is using such a bold strategy, I'm just going to fight him with my sword. I'm probably not going to mess about with the Wrath. I'm probably just going to try and katana him. Right there. Does the 2 hits, catches me on the running attack. Really well played. I expect no less in the township. You either get 2 types of people in the township. You get the douches or you get the good players. And I would rather play the good players than the douches, but the douches are fun. So this is always interesting. You haven't seen me do too much Ulasil Township. There's a good reason for it. I did it so much on the PC, I came to dislike it. And I'm not a big fan of this invasion either, because this is a 3-man co-op squad, gank squad, whatever you want to call it. The host is in full giants, using crystal magic weapon, which says everything about him as a player. Then the 2 phantoms both have bows and proceed to shoot arrows at me, which is great. The 1 phantom on the right has pulled out binoculars, which is interesting. Maybe he's got no intentions of ganking. But this guy comes at me with a great magic weapon, and his buddy's firing arrows, which is really cheesy, but this is what people do, guys. This is what you should expect in Dark Souls. So I backstab the phantom. The host gets all slash happy on me, which is hilarious to see a giant guy hiding behind his big shield with his funny crystal weapon. And I get stunlocked to death. And it's a weird situation. You know, people defend folks who fight like that. I will never understand anybody who defends that. And regardless of how compelling their argument is, I will never understand it. And I don't want to understand it, because I think the day I understand it is the day I stop playing this game. That was a really strange invasion. Guy had very low bleed resist, and he was trying to attack me when I spawned, which is cool. Oh, gotta love those guys. But we're back in the township. This guy looks interesting. He's got his shirt off with some Xanthus leggings, and he's buffed a very big sword. Wow, that sword isn't supposed to swing like that. He's swinging a man-serpent greatsword like a longsword. What the fuck is that? Wow, and he healed. This guy's a baller. Darkwood Grain Ring, which makes him really difficult to catch. Wolf Ring, which means he's got some... Look at that, looks so weird. He rolled through the bleed, and he's healing again. Wow. Why even bother? You know, this game is insane at times. He's standing around waiting for invasions, swinging his man-serpent sword like a longsword, which I've never come across before. I've seen it on other people's videos, but I've never come across it myself. And oh, this is Big Tata. Anybody on the Twitch scene will recognise this guy's name. He's a good player, and he's wearing full giants, which, if you come up across a good player wearing full giants, it is terrifying, because I have never been parried by a guy in full giants until I fought this guy. And I didn't know him at this point. I didn't know him on the Twitch scene or anything. I noticed the sack on his head, which told me that he's probably not a standard housewife, because anybody familiar with Peverson will know he did this like player-initiated covenant, where if you wore a sack on your head, you were part of this group of players. And just judging by how he fights, you can kind of tell he's not your standard housewife. He's doing roll attacks, he's trying to dead angle, he's trying to parry, and that axe hurts a lot. Unfortunately, I have a katana, which against giants is not, you know, the best tool, unless... And I go for the parry, and he kills me like a boss. And I think I invade him again. Yeah, there he is. So, I now know he's not a standard housewife. He's not to be, you know, taken lightly. He can play. He obviously understands the game. But it doesn't save me, I don't think. I think he smashes me again. So this time he does bow, because he acknowledges that I'm not just the invader that runs in and tries to murder people. I'm actually here to fight and enjoy the fight if I can. And he does some little backstepping into a running attack with the axe. Pulls out his buckler, and if someone's using a buckler, you know that, you know, they mean business. This is amazing, this. He fucking read it so well. Like, I need to get that out of my system, I really do. When I kick, I always attack afterwards, and you come up against a guy who knows it's coming, he's going to do that. And when it's that weapon, good night. Good fight, though. Really, really good fight. Not on my part, on his part, like, but still. It's good to have those moments, because it restores my faith in Dark Souls, because for every time I get smashed by gankers who really frustrate me at times unless I'm hunting them, you come up against a guy like that who beats you for a really, really good reason. And it's 100% skill. It's got nothing to do with gold traces, it's got nothing to do with dark bead spam or any of the other things that seems to be really popular in the forest. So you'll notice just then, I stood there looking at them and the phantom engaged me. The host bows, which is quaint, I thought, then proceeds to come and try and kill me. Then heals his phantom, and it's on like Donkey Kong. So I'm going to pull Wrath out, because there's two of them and they're real close together. And it works, man. Say what you want about Wrath of God, it works. That is why I equip it on this character. And I think I'm going to make a build or put 21 force on a character just so I can mess about with the Wrath spell without the damage. Because I never really use Wrath for the damage, I use it for its ability to scare people. It gets through shields, you know, it catches them off guard when you dead angle it. The damage is just gravy. This guy's really heavy. What is that, the steel armor set or the iron set? I think it's the iron set. He's got the Great Shield of Artorias with the katana, which is baller. And it's a Chaos Blade, no doubt. Guy's rocking some interesting equipment. Not for PvE, though. I would never recommend Chaos Blade for PvE. It's a fantastic weapon in PvP, but the gradual degradation of your life is not beneficial at all to a successful playthrough of PvE. And I've done a playthrough with the Chaos Blade. So... and I've used it extensively online against humans. So this is a fun one. This guy's using Priscilla's dagger. And Priscilla's dagger is very fast. He's using a Darkwood Grain Ring. I went there for a parry. I'm not too sure what parry I was going for, but I missed it, to say the least. And he's lagging. Excuse me. Which makes this fight more dangerous than it looks. Because the dagger doesn't seem to do much, which it doesn't. The bleed will if he hits the bleed, and that's what he's trying to do. He's trying to land the bleed on me. And at this moment in time, I'm not doing a very compelling job of denying him, and I don't think I've got the blossoms on the moss, the blood red moss to counter bleed. Guy's got 0 poise with the looks of that. The lag is helping him out. No, he can't have 0 poise because he took a swing. And then he heals, which, you know, everybody knows my stance on healing. I'm not a fan. The only healing I really forgive is when they do it with a spell, because it's part of a build and it's earned at that point. I don't know, it's a strange one, because no one agrees on the healing thing. I hope in Dark Souls 2, when you invade or get invaded, I hope it disables your Estus. I hope it disables healing for you and the invader. I really do. Because then it just mitigates all the arguments and all the debates. Because at the end of the day then, no one can heal. It's a clean slate. It's a fair battleground. Everything goes. But that's just my stance on it. And I do know that not everybody shares it. And I don't expect everybody to share it. It's just Dark Souls.